Good morning. Welcome to Unity Orlando. Our opening statement this morning is, God is my help in every need, and I am provided for abundantly. Let's all affirm that together. God is my help in every need, and I am provided for abundantly. All right, let's all close our eyes, take a nice deep breath in. Let's affirm that together in the silence. And so it is. And now if you'd like to stand and help us sing our joy song, it is called I'm About to Shine.
That shines through is the peace that's linking me to you. Joy comes through from heaven now, and it feels like I'm about to shine. Joy comes through from heaven now, and it feels like I'm about to shine. The joy that shines through is the joy that's linking me to you. Light comes through from heaven now, and it feels like I'm about to shine. Light comes through from heaven now, and it feels like I'm about to shine. And the light that shines through is the light that's linking me to you. And the light that shines through is the light that's linking me to you. And the light that shines through is the light that's linking me to you. And the light that shines through is the light that's linking me to you.
All right, thank you. You may be seated.
Good morning, Unity Orlando. How is everybody today? Good to see your beautiful faces in person and online. I'm Susan Francis. I'm your platform speaker today. Do we have any visitors for the first time here? All family. Good to see you all. A couple announcements. We want to thank Curtis and crew for spreading out the mulch on the playground this weekend. That was a really big job, so if anyone that's here today helped, would you please stand? I do know one of the people that helped, and he's already standing. Yay, Pete! Thank you, Pete. And thank you, everyone that joined in. It looks great. The food drive continues. You can bring non-perishable food items in our for the food drive either Sunday morning or Tuesday from 10 to 3 o'clock. Also contact Curtis Coaxum if you need help, need food, or want it picked up to donate. His information is on our website. Midweek prayer and meditation with Reverend Ronnie and myself is on Facebook the first and third Wednesdays at 4:30. I do apologize. This past Wednesday, it didn't appear till later. So it's there now, and then it's posted on our website. Navigating A Course in Miracles with Reverend Ronnie and Paul Kenney meet by Zoom each Wednesday at 7 p.m. If you're interested in attending, email Ronnie so she can send you the link. Her email address is on the website. And also, the Unity Men's Group meets at 4 p.m. every Wednesday at Starbucks located on 434 and Howell Branch in Winter Park. The discussions include spiritual, personal, family, general, and world issues. All ages are welcome. And also, they will meet on the third Sunday of each month in the courtroom classroom. And that third Sunday is June 19th, just so you know. Also, Reverend Ronnie's lesson this morning is Alone in a Crowd. But before I introduce or turn it back to Brian, I have a little story to tell you. So, Walter would take his wife Ethel to the state fair every year. And every time he would say to her, Ethel, you know, I'd love to go for a ride in that helicopter. But Ethel would always reply, I don't know that, Walter, but about going on that helicopter, but that ride is $50, and $50 is $50. Finally, they went to the fair, and Walter said to Ethel, he said, Ethel, I'm 87 years old now. If I don't ride that helicopter this year, I may never get the chance. Once again, Ethel replied, Walter, you know that helicopter is $50, and $50 is $50. This time, the helicopter pilot overheard the couple's conversation, and he said, listen, folks, I'll make you a deal. If I take you both on a ride, if you can stay quiet for the whole ride and not say a word, I won't charge you. But if you say just one word, it's $50. So Walter and Ethel agreed, and they went up in the helicopter. The pilot performed all kinds of fancy moves and tricks, but not a word was said by Walter or Ethel. The pilot did death-defying tricks over and over again, but there still was not so much as a word said. When the pilot finally landed, he turned to Walter and said, wow, I got to hand it to you. I did everything I could to get you to scream or shout. But he didn't. You didn't, and I'm really impressed. Walter replied, well, to be honest, I almost said something when Ethel fell out, but you know, $50 is $50. So, anyway, I'm going to turn that back over to Brian.
I'm sitting here thinking the whole time, is $50 really $50 anymore? I don't think so.
Oh, my God.
Oh, that's good. This is a song I think I wrote when I was all by myself, all alone. Imagine that. Most of my songs are like that. But this is called One Becomes One. When one decides to be one energy, one becomes one. When one decides to be one energy, one becomes one. Something inside of me is searching for clarity. Something down deep in me searching for reality. In one decides to be one energy, one becomes one. When one decides to be one energy, one becomes one. Spirit runs through me, searching to deliver me down very deep in me. Come be my reality. Decides to be one energy, one becomes one. When one decides to be one energy, one one.
Mic's on? There it is on. Okay. That was real. That song was written so long ago, and we haven't done it in so long that it was handwritten. It wasn't even typed out. It was before typewriters were even invented. Or computers, of course. Thank you, Brian. That was lovely. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Good to have you all here, and you at home too as well. Welcome, welcome. So I would bet that most of us, if not all of us here, have been to Disney or SeaWorld or one of the resorts here in Central Florida amid hundreds, thousands of people and wondering, what am I doing here? I mean, really. To be in the midst of all of those people and not know most of them, it's a strange feeling, isn't it? It's just to be in all this huge crowd. And even though most of the people are there for the same reason, to enjoy themselves, to have a good time, to do all kinds of different things there, you could literally walk around all day by yourself and not speak to another person, hardly. We tend, even in crowds, we tend to isolate ourselves and not join in with other people. Now, let's switch to a college football game that you are at in person. And then, of course, depending on the color shirt you're wearing and where you're seated, you could connect with other people during the game and high-five each other and shout and cheer. And if your team wins, you'll be really happy. And if your team loses, you'll be very upset. But during that time, you would have made a little bit of a connection, perhaps, with the people seated around you. But at the end of the game, when people walk away, it's always kind of amazed me. You sit and chat with people, and then you walk away and you never see them again. The connection is short-lived, somewhat shallow most of the time. If you go to a musical concert, like some of us got to go see Paul McCartney, a couple of weeks, or I guess it was last weekend. Again, the crowds are massive. Everybody's there for the same reason, to enjoy the music, to sing together, to stand up and block other people, which happens all the time. You connect, and maybe not in the best way, but you do make some connections again during this huge crowd. I mean, thousands of people, but then when you leave, you just walk away, and you'll probably never see each other again. So what difference does this make? I mean, who cares? Well, but we as humans have this desire to connect with other people. It's written in our DNA. We're wired that way. Even introverts, I know I can hear you introverts saying, not me, I just soon be by myself. And that's true to some extent, but most people, just about everybody, connects with somebody at least. And other people that are more extroverted with more people, to feel that heart-to-heart connection that we don't get as a general rule with the world. So let's take a minute and look at the definitions of lonely and alone. Lonely, the definition is you're sad because one has no friends or company with them. It's a feeling. You're feeling sad when you're lonely, usually. When you're alone, you're just having no one else present with you. It's just a fact. So it really isn't a feeling. We can make it mean what we want it to mean. We can feel the way we want it to feel. And many people will say, well, I can't choose the way I feel. I just feel that way. Actually, we can. We can, and that's what we're here to learn in this life, that we can choose. So when I was a senior in high school, at Bishop Moore High School, I grew up here in town, some of the teachers put together this retreat for a weekend for the seniors, which ended up being the first of many, what they called the core weekend group, which they started having them a lot after that. Most of us did not want to go. I had a favorite teacher that kept twisting my arm. I was like, I don't want to go. I have a paper due Monday. He got the paper changed. I have a test, so I have 2 tests on got the test changed, to the point that we all went, I don't know if everybody did, but a bunch of us did. And so begrudgingly, I went, along with a bunch of us. And it was, this is back in the 60s, so we had these sensitivity groups that were just starting up back then, where you'd sit in a circle and speak your truth about other people out in the open, where, most of the time you didn't do that. And the retreat itself was run by a bunch of seminarians. These are men that were studying to become priests. They were from down in Boynton Beach, I think. And then a bunch of other people too that were teaching, leading this retreat. And it ended up being a lot of fun. But during the last group on the night of Saturday, we had this big discussion about being lonely and being alone. And it really upset me, because at that time in my life, I had this fear of ending up alone and being alone for the rest of my life. So when it was all over and we went to our dorms, I was beside myself with upset, and I couldn't quiet myself down. So some of the girls went and got the head guy, and I went with him down by the fire, and we stayed up all night talking about this, talking about the difference between being alone and being lonely, and explaining that difference. And it made me feel a little bit better. That fear of an 18-year-old was still there. I was just, it's interesting. I'll tell you why in a few minutes. So what I realized from that is we do get to choose the way that we feel. It may not always feel that way. It's like, well, I just feel this way, but you can make yourself shift and change. I always felt kind of alone because I grew up in a big family. I was the middle child of 7 kids. And because of what are the words I used? The age spread in our family, I didn't have a sister that was close to me in age. I had the older 3 were a lot older, and then there were 2 brothers and a younger sister. So I just was kind of by myself. I just felt lonely a lot in the midst of all this commotion that was going on in my life. And I was also molested when I was 11 or 12 years old. And because I didn't have a sister that was close to me, or certainly not a friend, I didn't tell anybody. And it was very, very, very upsetting. I didn't know really what to do about it. I assumed it had to have been my fault. You know, I'm a kid, I blame myself. Finally, I told my mom, but I felt very much alone because of some circumstances. She never told my father. So it was I would call it a sick secret that was brushed under the rug for a very long time. And it smoldered inside of me for a long time. And it made my feeling of aloneness even bigger. But what changed everything for me was when I started, as I grew older and somewhat maturity, when I wanted to get a deeper relationship with Spirit. I was called to a Carmelite community in my early 20s, and I did a lot of spiritual work, which helped me deal with a lot of things. And then I did get counseling as an adult about being molested. And that helped a great amount. But when I finally understood the true meaning of what forgiveness is, then I was free. So I mean, you can actually become free of heavy things in your life when you turn to Spirit and you accept the grace of God. So as we age, we hopefully grow in maturity and wisdom and stature. But stature usually has a lot to do with your accomplishments, your achievements, what kind of a job you have, where did you go to college, who did you marry, how many kids do you have, how much money do you make. So in our early years after high school or college, we spend a lot of time trying to achieve, because that's what seems to make us feel better on the inside by all these accomplishments. Some people just have that natural drive to do more and to be more and to get more degrees and to learn more and to be able to teach and do stuff. There are other people that, for whatever reason, they just don't have that drive. They don't really care, and they end up in a place of not getting very far in life. But at some point, all of us, whether we're high achievers or not achievers at all, at some point in our lives, we stop and say, there's got to be more to life than just earning money or having children or not having children or whatever. There's got to be more to life than this. The pattern that most of us fall into with this searching for more, doing more, being more, it supports the belief in separation that had occurred when we, for whatever reason, decided to come here on this earth away from God. And feeling that separateness is the part of life where we help us to start looking for more, to saying there's got to be more. It can't just be me all alone. So let's look at A Course in Miracles. It's a quote. ACIM stands for A Course in Miracles, chapter 29, Roman numeral 7. Seek not outside yourself. All your pain simply comes from a futile search outside of yourself. All your pain simply comes from a futile search outside yourself. And isn't that what most of us do in our lifetime? Most of us go through life and never think, what do you mean? Where else can I search beside outside? Everything is outside of me. Well, when we are centered in God and in the presence of God within us, when we realize that God lives within us, in the very fiber of our being, our life starts to change. And we begin to realize life isn't all about me. So let's look at this scripture, Matthew 6:6. But as for you, when you pray, enter into your inner chamber and lock your door. Pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret shall himself reward you openly. So Jesus isn't talking about going into a real closet and closing the door, getting away, even though you could do that if that works for you. What he's talking about is taking time to connect with that one mind, the mind that is not our brain, but our mind that we have within us, that is one with the mind of God, that creates everything in the universe. When we can figure out, when we spend time quiet and learn how to make that connection with spirit, by even if we go to our prayer time and it seems like there's just a bunch of yakety yak going on, the effort that you make of getting there and being still will open your mind and your heart. Our hearts change. They actually change. And now for some of you who, like me when I was a lot younger, don't like to be alone, it's really hard to take that time to go off and be still by yourself. Now with Paul and I, we've always meditated together, but still separately. It's a personal thing. But so it's an important thing to take that time, because when you start doing this, you realize that you are never alone. You are never alone. And as you become more comfortable with this silent time and you begin to listen, you're going to hear things. You're going to hear information. You're going to get ideas. You're going to have thoughts pop into your head that came out of nowhere. Things are going to start changing if you listen and take away things that you learn. And sometimes these things are so subtle, you might say, that was just my mind. That was just my mind thinking of those things. Well, it could be, but we're humans, and God's going to speak to us through our bodies and through our minds, through our thoughts, through our ideas, for things that we read, so it doesn't really matter. Nothing from the outside can fill that space of yearning within us. Oh, we try. We talked about all the accomplishments that we try to do that will fill that space. But when we get really quiet, we can just still feel the emptiness. If we rely on our partners or our children or our friends to fill that spot, things are not going to go well, because eventually people get burned out. It's a heavy load to have to carry somebody else. And that's what it feels like when you're with somebody that is looking to you constantly to make them feel good about themselves. It's a heavy burden, and it's not ours to carry. So if we do that, we're actually going to push people away, and then we really are going to be more alone than ever before. It creates a dichotomy, because we know that people alone can't fill that spirit within us, and yet we are asked to see the Christ in each one of us. Here at Unity, we are blessed to know that within each and every one of us, whether we can see it or not, is God, is the very essence of God within each and every person. Oh, it may be covered up with lots of layers of gunk, but we are asked to look beyond that. Sometimes it's easier than others, but we can do that. To look for that light of God within each and every one of people that we meet. By looking for that, we are actually, when we look at another person and try to see beyond their behavior and look for that light, we're actually calling it forth. And we help that person, without them even realizing it, to let their light shine. By shining your own light, which means by being who you are, authentic and speaking your truth, you're giving other people permission to do the same thing. And this isn't woo-woo, this is a fact. What we call forth in other people by our expectations, if we have heard something about someone and it's not very nice, sometimes we make a judgment about them before we've even met them, and we've decided that we don't even like them. And guess what? We probably won't. But if we are able to look beyond that, when somebody tells you something, just put that aside and try to see who they really are. That can change the whole dynamics of your relationship. So, somehow we have learned to play small. Now, you say, well, I know a lot of people that have these huge egos, so I wouldn't think they're playing small. Many times people that have these huge egos, it's all bravado, because they don't really know that the truth of them is this magnificent being that they've never experienced. Remember the story of how circuses aren't a thing of today anymore, but how they used to train elephants at a circus. And what they would do is they would take these big, huge iron spikes, I guess, that they put in the ground, and then they would take the chain and chain the elephant's leg. And so when they tried to get away and they'd pull on it, the chains would rip at their skin and be painful and bleeding. And so after a day or two or three, the elephants stopped pulling. They just stopped because it hurt too much. And so maybe after a week or so, the trainers would unlock that chain for part of the day. And still the elephants didn't go anywhere. They didn't move because they remembered that pain. And eventually they could take the chains off completely, and the elephants would go and stay right where they're put, or where they're trained to do, and they don't go beyond that realm, because in their minds, it's going to hurt if they do that. I think we have been trained by perhaps the family that we grew up in, or later, that, okay, like in my family, 4 girls and 3 boys, it was expected that the boys go to college, but not the girls. Well, I was the first one to graduate from college in my family. Why did I decide to go to college? I don't know, but I always knew I was going. Most of the time, we live up to the expectations that we're brought up with. And if they're not very big, or many times we don't go beyond that unless we have this eye-opening experience that we finally realize, wait a minute, I can do more than this. So this is our task in this lifetime. And those of us in Unity know it. Our task is to become all who we truly are. Let's look at 1 Kings 19, 11 to 13. And he said, the prophet, "Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great wind rent the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. And when Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in the mantle, and he went out and he stood at the entrance of the cave." That's the way God speaks to us, in a still, small voice. And our world is so noisy. Our world is so noisy and busy that when we rest, we may be doing things. Multitasking has become our goal. And in truth, you might get some things done, but probably not efficiently, because if you're doing too many things, you can't keep your eyes on all the goals there. Years ago, my sister had a baby shower for a niece of ours that was going to have a baby, and Fran, my sister, had breastfed her child. So she wanted to give my niece the book about La Leche. And so as she's preparing for the gathering, and actually even when we're there, she's looking for this book and she can't find it. And when Fran can't find something, she gets almost hysterical. "Where's the book? Where's the book? I can't find it. Where's the book? Where's the book? Where's the book?" And then she'd do a few more things. The whole time during the whole party, she's fussing about she can't find this book. "Where's the book? Where's the book?" So just before my niece is about to leave, Fran is beside herself, and she looks at her 2.5-year-old daughter, and she says, "Lisa, do you know where that book is?" Lisa walked over to the bookshelf, picked it off, and handed it to her. A 2-year-old. So, that sounds really silly, but that's sometimes how we are when we're so frantically looking for something that is right in front of us and we can't see it. We can't see it because we're not looking and we're not listening. We have to slow down enough. That doesn't mean you can't do things and be active and accomplish a lot of things. But when there are times when you need to slow down. Ask for guidance and then follow it, that our lives get so much simpler. We can ask for guidance. Where's the book? Where's the book? Where's the book? But if we're not listening for the answer, we're not going to hear the answer, and we're probably not going to find it. We will more than likely get more accomplished efficiently without so much stress and struggle when we slow down. We are magnificent, divine beings that are here in this human body. And we're on this earth to learn how to get back home, which is right inside of us. So I have a few reminders for you. It's on your bulletin. It says, spend time daily in prayer and silence with the God within us. You gotta do that. Even if it's just a few minutes in the morning and a few minutes at night. You'll eventually spend more time because you'll get so much out of it. But if you don't do that, you're not going to learn. You're not going to realize what's going on inside of you. Second one is when tough things happen, and they will, because we live in this human world. Feel your emotions, work through them, do what you must do. Then look for the blessing that has come out of that thing and give thanks. Because there's always a blessing. There's always a blessing in everything. Third one, slow down a bit each day. Smile at a stranger. Pay something forward for people. Just calling the checkout person at the grocery store by their name makes all the difference in the world. Mark Twain said, the sweetest words to our ears is the sound of our own name. Little things like that can mean a lot. Fourth, remember the magnificence of the divinity within you and live from that beauty as much as you can. And to remember, it's not written down, we are never alone. So let's look at A Course in Miracles lesson 188.1. Those who seek the light are merely covering their eyes. The light is in them now. Enlightenment is but a recognition, not a change at all. A recognition of the truth of who we are. Now I want to read you something called a legend, a Hindu legend. I think you have it on the bulletin. I didn't look. Yes, it's there. So I want to read this to you. And it's a legend, but it's very interesting. And you've heard it, I think, before, but I'm going to do it again. So there was once a time when all human beings were gods, but they so abused their divinity that Brahma, the chief god, decided to take it away from them and hide it where it could never be found. Where to hide their divinity was the question. So Brahma called a council of the gods to help him decide. Let's bury it deep in the earth, said the gods. But Brahma answered, no, that will not do, because humans will dig it up and find it. Then the gods said, let's sink it into the deepest ocean. But Brahma said, no, not there, for they will learn to dive into the ocean and will find it. Then the god said, let's take it to the top of the highest mountain and once again take up their divinity. Then the gods gave up and said, we do not know where to hide it, because it seems that there is no place on earth or in the sea that human beings will not eventually reach. Brahma thought for a long time and then said, here is what we will do. We will hide their divinity deep in the center of their own being, for humans will never think to look for it there. All the gods agreed that this was the perfect hiding place, and the deed was done. And since that time, humans have been going up and down the earth, digging, diving, climbing, and exploring, searching for something already within themselves. So let's take a few moments in meditation. Paul, can you do this? Please. I know. I'm not feeling well.
I'm going to do this order. Okay, we good? Okay, let's take a moment. And we imagine for a moment our own lives and how busy they can be. So many things to do, so many things to handle, to take care of. And so we take this moment to lay those things down just for now. We can always pick them up later. But for this moment, we seek within. We go to that space at the center of our being. For God is there. Our own Christ self is there. We follow our breath into that place. And we can feel a sense of peace as we let the outer go and focus on the inner. For Jesus told us, the kingdom of heaven is within you. And in that space, in that place, there's a calmness that comes over us. A feeling of serenity. Where we know we are loved and cared for. Our eternal self lives here with God. And in this space, we are one with all creation. We are one with all spirit. And we recognize our eternity. That magnificent truth of ourself that never dies, can never be harmed. Our divinity is here. And Jesus is here with us. For he told us, I am always with you, even to the end of time. And we remind ourselves to come to this place often. Sometimes we can get there with a single conscious breath. And in the space of love and peace and joy, everything we need to know is present. Everything we need to understand is available to us. And in this space, we know we are truly never alone. For God is with us, always and forever. And for this realization and for this experience, we say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Amen. You want to do this part?
Thank you. Would the usher come forward for our offering now, please? And those of you at home, you know the drill, how to go to our homepage after the service. And you can do it by PayPal, you can pay credit card, PayPal, you can mail us a check, you can call the office if you want to, and Linda can set up regular payments, whichever works best for you. We are so grateful for your offerings, for your presence, for your being here. And so we say thank you very much. So if you will, repeat with me the blessing that's on the screen behind me. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. Thank you, God. Amen. Back over to Brian.
Thank you, Reverend Ronnie. And yeah, that first song was older than typewriters, actually. I wrote it in pencil. But that was the second draft. The first draft was on stone and chisel. So, all right. Just want to clear that up. This one is last year, actually. I think I wrote this for one of Ronnie's talks. It's called Only God Knows. Remember the time I might have stepped on a line and I thought I heard you. I kind of fell off track and it was hard to get back in good graces with you. It might not all be rosy or a fairy tale, but I live my life where you're the wind in my sail. There was one time I thought I went crazy 'cause I couldn't find you anywhere. You said you'd always be with me, but I thought you left me and you gave me a scare. And that was only a moment in the grand scheme of time, where my faith was tested and we drew the line. That's the way life goes, that's the way life shows. When our love is tested and our love heart grows, what direction the winds of change blows, my recollection only God knows. I hear it in the wind blowing through the trees, like heaven whispers a gentle breeze. You are always with me, you can never leave me. Can you really help me? Only God knows. That's the way life shows. When our love is tested and our heart light grows, what direction the winds of change blows, my recollection only God knows. What direction the winds of change blows, my recollection only God knows. Only God knows.
Thank you, thank you. That was beautiful. So today is Reverend Bob's birthday. So in case you're watching, happy birthday, Reverend Bob. We'll celebrate him when he gets back in a couple of weeks. Thank you guys for being here today. Be safe. Have a good week. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your support, for your presence, for your very essence. You make Unity Orlando, so thank you. Next Sunday, Paul and I are going to do the talk together. And the talk title is Why Me? So come back and see that show. Meyer Hall is open till 1 o'clock, so it's a nice time to get to visit with your friends again. So let's all stand now, and together we'll say the prayer for protection. Together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God folds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you so much for being here for the week. Enjoy your time. See you next week. Thank you again for being here.